always like to open up with the Wookiee. Hey, we're going to do another 6 figures. This one hopefully will be nice and quick and painless. But I want to talk about the new Epic Series figures. And I've got a couple to go through here. I want to kind of do where they came from and where they're going with that line. So Hasbro has been producing a Marvel Avengers series. Now, granted, these are a 3 3/4 action figure. But this particular one is Black Panther. Oh, and I actually got 2 of these on clearance. And I have another one I'm saving for another video of non-Star Wars action figures. But this one I'm opening in conjunction with some of the Epic Heroes action figures on the Disney line. This is the Marvel line. So what they decided to do is they took a note from these particular things. I guess these were selling okay, and they were able to sell them at a price point that was in the $10-11 range, roughly. They were trying to, which, I mean, that doesn't, if they could get the Star Wars figures into a reasonable, somewhat, halfway decent detailed figure that doesn't look too straightforward, like 5 points of articulation, too few points of articulation, in my opinion. I think what they're doing with these Avengers ones, I don't know if they still have this line out or not, but I mean, I'm going to open this one up first and talk about it and how I think the detail is in the actual action figure. But I'm going to compare that to, I've opened a few of these guys. I've got a handful of them, but I have this one all by his lonesome. So I'm going to throw him in the mix. Now, he's like a 5 POA with a swivel head. So we've seen him before, and we've seen, Baby Yoda. I mean, it's kind of, yeah. But we have this one that I knew that was out, but I hadn't seen it yet. I was able to find it at Target. So this is called Power of the Force instead of Power of the Force. I don't know what they're doing. But anyway, they decided to release, what is this? Is it SM33? Yeah, SM33. And I think this one is also a 5 POA, but we'll find more out about it when I get into the package. See them over there. And then I got a pair of these guys because, well, I got the only 2 that were on the shelf. And they were not expensive, so I went ahead and got a pair of them. And I knew I needed some figures to do some 6 figures episodes, so I went and hit the clearance racks. And gosh, been having good luck with the clearance racks this year. But anyway, I think these, from what I understand, have more articulation. I think the elbows bend and the knees bend on these particular ones. So they don't have as many points of articulation as what like the Vintage Collection ones did, because the Vintage Collection had wrists and elbows and turning, and I couldn't tell you how many points of articulation those have, but almost too many. But how I feel about those action figures. Doesn't matter how many points of articulation you have, if you still fall over, well, you suck. All right, I'm gonna start because this Marvel line predates the Star Wars line, okay? So I'm going to open up this Marvel Legends figure because he's kind of going to be what we judge the rest of these by. And I'll start out by telling you what I don't like about them. comparatively to this Marvel Avengers figure. But this this Black Panther figure, he's got to stand up for everybody. I don't collect Avengers. I don't have a whole bunch of Iron Man or any of that stuff. I got a couple things here and there, and oddballs. All right, we get rid of all that stuff. We will take Mr. Black Panther and pop him out of the package. And, you know, he comes with this little clip-on claw. And it's cool. But it doesn't look real enough, in my opinion. I would rather keep some of the purple. But I think what I'm going to do with that is I'll do some paint apps on that and make it way more interesting looking before I, you know, ruin this figure by putting that horrible purple armband on there. Okay, so I got the arms have nice articulation. Okay. And the knees have decent articulation. So the only thing that takes away from that is they don't have ankle articulation. So you can't make them walk and run, and they would have to be on like a figure. They would have to have a figure peg that would be strong enough to hold it to get it to actually be in a running position or something. But it doesn't totally take away from the figure. We don't have any waist articulation. So alrighty. So I mean, he's posable. He's got a few points of articulation. If he had a weapon, he could hold it. I mean, he came with his little wrist thing, but you know, I just think there's not enough detail in that to waste time putting it on the figure. So I think he looks cool. For it represents the figure for what it's supposed to do. And it's not a Star Wars figure, it's a Marvel Legends. So we're looking at it from a different perspective. It represents the character well. But it is a bit too shiny. Because it's, you know, yeah, it's in the under $10 action figure, what you would expect to get from it. So, I mean, I think it's a pretty cool action figure for what it is. So, I'm going to stick them over here, top side, behind these other guys. All right, we'll stick him over here. Now, I'm going to go to the first couple of action figures I've already seen before, because I know a lot about these ones, and I can put them together pretty quickly now. The Stormtrooper, I'm going to go ahead and open him up. Yeah, we'll do what we can to save the package the best we can. Not too concerned about it. Like I said, I've got a couple of this one, so I mean, I don't have to save every single package. All right. Just want to slice you on out of there. Come on. All right. There we go. And we will throw this junk away. Throw that junk away. Stormtrooper's blaster. And there we go. You know, I didn't notice this on my other batch of Stormtroopers, if their arm is bent like that. Guess I'll have to take a look. I've got 6 of them in the bucket over here. But, wow. There we go. Come on. Wow. Can't get him to hold on to the blaster for some reason. This arm is way different than the other ones were. Because, like, this one does not even want to hold on to that blaster. Oh, you bastard. I can't get you in there. All right. You're going to be a lefty. All righty. And there is our Stormtrooper we've seen a few times already. But, no, for some reason, and this is one of the first ones they did. So this has been out on the market for quite a while. A good 1.5 years, 2 years almost. So, all right. Very, very good detail. Much like our Black Panther figure we just looked at. I mean, they did great on the detail. I love the new swivel head movement. But I will say that this figure probably could have gotten some elbow articulation and some knee joint articulation. That's my only complaint about that figure, is that they did a good job with the most part producing this one. The only thing I really criticize on that is I think, you know, with this first round of figures, they could have done the articulation. And I think that's happening in the test market of these figures, because as they produce these, they're kind of putting a little more into it as they go, because the X-Wing with the Luke Skywalker in pilot gear outfit, that came out this summer. I saw it at Target, and they put bent knees on the figure. I don't think they did the elbows, but the knees would bend, so that you could actually put that figure in a sitting position. So, I mean, that's helpful. That helps the articulation in the knees. If you're going to do it in the knees, you might as well do it in the elbows. But, so anyway, this is Grogu. I've got a few of him. Because there's a vintage collection version. There's a retro version. There's this particular version. And then everything Mandalorian comes with Grogu. So, I got like little baby Yodas all over my action figure shelf now. It's kind of crazy. What I plan on doing is I plan on doing some paint apps with my Yodas, with my Grogus, and I'm going to make a couple of them lighter. I'm going to make a couple of them darker, and try to make them all look like just a little bit different, like they're not all from the same batch of baby Yodas. You know, close but not identical. Okay, so we've opened this a million times. Well, I think I got a couple of these guys, so I don't want to say a million of them, but I've seen this package a few times, so I'm not all that excited about, you know, getting into too much detail about it. But, I mean, it's an overall really nice action figure, so I do appreciate what they have done with this line so far. I mean, like I said, I think we're in a test market phase with the Epic series, and we are the test subjects. That's how that works. But, I mean, this is cool. I mean, I'm going to do some paint apps on all these all of these things, but for Baby Yoda to have his little prim, and the fact that all of them are just a little bit different. The Epic series is different than the ones that come with the Vintage Collection version. So this one is like round, spherical looking, whereas the other one was sort of more egg-shaped. So, I mean, that's cool. It is what it is. I'm going to put him right over here, right in front of Mr. Stormy. Now, we're getting into the newer ones. Let's go for K2SO. No. SM33. I don't know why. Every time I see this droid, my brain immediately says K2SO. Because he has some very K2SO like attributes to him. Mainly the shape of the head. The overall bulky style of the droid. Yeah, he looks like he kind of came out of that same factory. Or, you know, that same kind of, I don't know, the same engineering style. SM33. Every time I see him, I think K2SO, because that's who he reminds me of the most. All right. SM33. We'll throw that over there. Throw this over there. So I'll do a quick comparison. The packaging design. This is the Marvel Legends one. It's got a slight angle on the top, but it's got that embossment where the plastic or the insert would have been that told you about the figure. And the Star Wars stuff has the same thing. This is the one from SM33, and then these are the Trooper and the Yoda, Baby Yoda one. So, yeah, they've pretty much kept the styling of the packaging in this Epic series. So, yeah, I mean, did I throw that all away? I was going to look at the front of the package for this one and see if it said, I think it did say on the insert Epic something. But anyway, I think this one kind of faked me out. Because when I first picked it up, I thought I saw articulation in the knees and elbows. But I do believe that I was tricked by what my eyes thought they saw and what they actually did see. So let me go ahead and get rid of that. So we have an arm. We have standard rotation on that arm. But what we do have, we have a swivel joint on the arm. So they put a swivel joint. I think the engineers told them you can have an elbow joint or a swivel joint, but you can't have both. But I also see where some clever use of a knife, I could potentially turn this into a multi-articulate figure. But yeah, that's cool. Now let's get him up to the camera so you can see him. I'm having all the fun looking at him. Very cool. I think he needs like a wash, a stain wash, to darken him up and bring in some of the highlights, and then maybe some paint apps and stuff down here in the joints would help out. But this is the only one that I have right now. I think I'll wait till some more of these hit the shelves, and if enough of them hit the shelves, they'll go on the clearance racks just as quick, and that will allow me to get enough of them to kit bash. And I think that these are think this is for standing the figure up, if I'm not mistaken. No, they're not. These are wrist guards, I believe. That's what they are. I thought there was a figure stand. And there we are. Very cool. So he doesn't have any weapons because he didn't have any weapons in the TV show. So there we go. He at least has some accessories. And I think that's good enough. I think I'm going to show him off in the camera one more quick time. And I think then we're going to go over here and we're going to stand him up next to Stormtrooper. Alrighty. And I got a Stormtrooper that fell over here. I want to get him fixed. There we go. Now, what do we have? We have the most recent action figure in the line for the Epic Heroes line. Now, we are getting into some more articulation, and we're going to see where they're at with this, because this is the first time I have seen one out of package. I think I got these guys maybe last week sometime when I was downstate for a doctor's appointment. And, yeah. There we go. And get this little flap right here. Come on. There you go. Come on out of there. There you go. All right. There's our card back. There we go. Card back kind of teases some of that articulation. All right. Epic. Power the Force. All right. Yeah, see, the embossment is... He has the same embossment as SM33. Oh, because it fits that Power of the Force logo. Okay. So what they're slowly trying to launch a new line of action figures. And I think that's what's happening here. I think this is a test market. Now they're like, okay, well, they're complaining because they need the articulation, so let's give them some more articulation, like kind of like what we did with the Epic Heroes for the Marvel. All right, so now we got a swivel, and there we go. All right. Alrighty. So they have given us a very articulate head for this particular droid. Yeah, okay. And then there we go. You can see you can swing that arm around and you can bend that joint. Now, granted, the architecture of the droid itself gives you some freedom of articulation, but the fact that this all turns, there's a lot of expression, so it allows you to have your droids stand next to each other, 6 or 7 of them, and they can all have a little bit different of a pose. They don't have to be so stiff and uniform, and I think that helps out a lot. However, when it comes to the gun, they just painted the whole thing red. and they put a blast on the end of it, which, if you ask me, I'm going to probably cut that blast off of there and dip it in some red paint. What I will do is I'll steal a Clone Trooper blaster, and I'll put one of the Clone Troopers blasters in his hand. Alrighty, so right there, look at the articulation going on. Put him over here next to Black Panther. And let's open up the other one, who's exactly the same. But you get to hear me ramble about what I like and dislike about these figures so far. So, you know, I don't like the lack of articulation. What I will say with this Darktrooper is I now have, I think, 3 different versions of Darktrooper. I might even have another one right here in front of me, because I got a bunch of them. Yeah. Of the Darktrooper, again, clearance items. The vintage collection Darktrooper, every store got like 6 to 12 of those, and they just weren't selling. So they all ended up on the clearance racks. And by the end of the Christmas season last year, I had tracked down, I can't remember exactly how many, but I did at least get a dozen or more of them over the course of a year's time. That was last summer, last winter, and I think I even found a couple more this summer, just sitting on a clearance rack somewhere, because they weren't selling. So they just, well, what do? Let's get rid of these. And they did. So instead of spending, $14, $15 on them, I got them for significantly less. Alrighty. There. I am trying to get the thumb open on this figure because I want that. Sometimes you got to stretch the plastic to get it to open up enough to go over some of the rifles. And it'll make sense in just a moment. There, as soon as I feel that plastic snap on there. There. There we are. So at least he looks like he's grabbing the weapon like he's about ready to go into action with it. Yeah, There, this looks much better. He's holding the gun down closer to the handle. That looks way better. Okay. He's still kind of intimidating as hell. I'm going to see him here for just a moment. Yeah. I got a bucket of figures over here, and I don't remember if I had a Darktrooper in here or not. No, I had... No Darktrooper in this batch. So it was indeed the previous batch that had some action figures in it. Okay. Alrighty. That's good. That's good. So, I'm all done. Except for I got to put them up here on the shelf with the rest of them. But let me get a good look at that. And I'll tell you what I think of these. I think these are pretty badass. I think that if Hasbro is smart enough to take a look at these action figures and evaluate the line, I think if they evaluate the line right, they're going to find that they're onto something. Because I'm trying to make this yellow background stay where it's at. If they can continue this Epic series line, Epic Heroes, if they can continue the Epic Heroes and get a little better with the articulation and the knee joints and elbow joints, especially with this rotation, it's only a matter of time before they find ways in this now 4-inch action, because they've gone up from 3 3/4 to a total of 4 for the basic figure size, which isn't much more, but it's just enough more meat on the bones to be able to get away with some of this articulation with the cheaper plastics, which, I mean, this shinier stuff. The quality of the plastic on the vintage collection action figures compared to the Epic Heroes, there's definitely some quality difference in the overall plastic. And that probably has a lot to do with, you know, how well they hold up over time, how breakable the joints are versus how stretchy they are. I mean, they're pretty darn close to the same thing, but there's definitely something different about the vintage collection plastics. It's definitely a higher quality, meant to take more detail on the surface and such. But right now, the Epic Heroes line, it's getting pretty darn cool. I mean, that Stormtrooper is a pretty cool action figure. The only thing I'm missing is it would be nice if it had the knees and elbows bending. If they could get the knees and elbows close to what they've done with this Darktrooper on the regular 3 3/4 action figures, then I think they're actually going to be on to something really important, I think, for the action figure community and, you know, the sales as a whole, because I think what they're running into is it takes so much. It almost takes the same amount of engineering to create these 3 3/4 action figures as it does to do a Black Series action figure, which I have a 6 figures coming up on the Black Series coming soon. I have 3 of them lined up and ready. So I'll acquire 3 more between now and the next time I do some video, and we'll do some more Black Series. But in the meantime, we're just kind of finishing up on these Epic Heroes series. I'm very excited to see what they do with the Epic Heroes series in the near future, because they could re-release the entire line from the beginning right now and do Epic Heroes and just do everything from the old original 12. That's what they should do. They should go, okay, let's produce the original 12, and then 3 months later, the next wave. And then maybe stay in the Tatooine episode 1 for like another few months and get a good stack of action figures that exist. Because go ahead and re-release the Stormtrooper. Go ahead and re-release that. And the Vader. Maybe throw a cloth cape on Vader. Maybe upgrade and do the articulation changes. Like make this Stormtrooper, the Epic Series Stormtrooper, but let's go ahead and do the knee joint and the elbow joint articulation and see what else you can get away with within reason. We don't want to get these things expensive. We want to keep them at that, fly off the shelf price, under $10, just over $10, right in that range. I think is good. I think it's a good place to keep them if you can get on board with this articulation. The elbow joints and the knee joints and more swiveliness in the heads. Make that a thing. Make sure all the figures have that, because that is something that really, really adds to the figure. Even when it's only 5 POA. I've got 6 of those Stormtroopers on a shelf, and they all have their head cocked just a little different and the arm moved just enough different where they all look just enough different from one another, as opposed to the old school ones are just that with no turning head whatsoever at all. I think that they can maybe rejuvenate the line with these if they do it right. You got to release the characters that people want, first of all. And the original ones from back in the day are always going to win. You just get them on the shelves. And don't be afraid about having too many Stormtroopers on the shelf, because everyone who's collecting, they're going to want more than one Stormtrooper. So, those are my thoughts on that. It's cold and I'm sneezing. And that's good. We talked about some Epic Heroes today. We got to compare that to Mr. Black Panther over here in the Marvel line. I think I've covered everything the best I can. I am glad to see that our Star Wars Epic Heroes are getting the articulation updates that make them comparable to the Marvel line. And at this point, you could even drop back into the 3 3/4, and eventually no one's even gonna notice. I mean, it's up to Hasbro how they want to go about that, but I'm just saying. For me, the 4-inch line gives me a 4-inch Stormtrooper next to a 3 3/4-inch Stormtrooper, and all the different variations of Stormtroopers in the mix, even with a couple of retros here and there. It gives me enough variety in the shape and size and stature of the individual action figures that, a couple old classic Stormtroopers mixed in with some fully articulate ones next to a couple of these Epic Heroes ones. It just adds variety to the overall look of the shelf, and it all blends in pretty well. I'm excited to see what happens with this Epic Heroes line. I really am. When I first saw it, I was like, oh, come on, really? Are you going to go backwards? But let's see what they can do going forward with what they went backwards with, I guess. I don't know. We'll see. Hey, too long a video, I think. Anyway, one of these days I'll learn how to edit, and it won't be that way. Until then, well, you're going to be waiting a long time.